After wife's death, Gary felt that he probably was one of the luckiest guys around. Sarah, his wife, was good-looking and very successful at her job in the jewelry wholesale business. They had been married for 4 years and, while Gary made a decent income from his home-based computer software business, it was Sarah who paid for exotic holidays and weekends away. They had no children, partly from Sarah's wish to keep her career going and also because neither of them were really convinced that they were ready for a family yet. Gary and Sarah could have been mistaken for brother and sister. They both had dark hair and were almost the same height with a slender build. Sarah had the most amazing green eyes, which sparkled when she smiled, which was often, while Gary was often quiet and kept himself to himself. The similarity in their build and appearance was a bonus to Gary as he often took advantage of Sarah's business trips to dress up in her clothes and wander around the house en femme. Sarah knew of Gary's desire to dress up occasionally. While she didn't really understand why he did it, she was content to let him dress up if she was out of the house. She drew the line at making love with him dressed, although they both enjoyed the occasions when Sarah found Gary in their bed wearing one of her long satin nightgowns and a pair of tight knickers. Gary longed to dress and go out with Sarah as two sisters, but he respected her wishes and was reasonably content with the status quo. Over the years of their marriage, he had amassed a suitcase full of silicone breast forms, waist clinchers, and body shapers, jewelry for his larger hands and his unpierced ears, as well as the essential beard cover and a few pairs of mid-heeled shoes. He always enjoyed going out shopping with Sarah, particularly if she was looking for a new outfit, as he knew that once she had brought it home, he could try it on in the next few days. A few of Sarah's girlfriends had commented, in earshot of Gary, how unusual it was for a man to be happy clothes shopping with his wife. One Monday, Sarah announced that she would be going away on a business trip up north with her business partner, David Smith, and expected to be away for most of the following week. Gary was sorry to see her go, but once David had collected her from the front gate, Gary went inside the house and immediately started on his well-rehearsed ritual of turning himself into his version of Sarah. He kept his body free from hair, so a quick shower in Channel gel and an all-over dusting with talc made him feel fresh and a little sexy. Pulling on a tiny pair of bikini briefs, he pulled his manhood between his legs and glanced at himself in the mirror as his body started to take shape. The silicone breasts were carefully cleaned and sprayed with adhesive before he stuck them firmly to his chest, applying some derma cover to smooth the outlines. A new bra from Sarah's M&S collection to match the briefs, and then Gary quickly and expertly applied subtle makeup before stepping into a new pair of sheer nearly black tights. He always loved the feel of the lycra as it rolled up his smooth legs. Stepping into a new red and black dress Sarah had bought at the weekend, he pulled the zip up, selected a pair of black patent shoes with a 3-inch heel, and returned to the dressing table to brush and fix his shoulder-length dark brown wig, which was set in a style almost identical to Sarah's. Earrings, bracelets, rings, and a gold necklace finished the transformation, and Gary looked at himself in the mirror. To the casual observer, it would seem as if Sarah was the one standing in front of the mirror. Gary spent the next few days dressed en femme, changing into outfits as he felt he wanted to and going to bed contentedly in sheer nightgowns after each day. He continued to work at home and communicated with his clients by email and telephone, so most of them had never met him, but were happy with his output. Little did they know that the man communicating with them was sat at his computer in an ever-changing array of smart business blouses and skirts. His work, mostly covering computer software problems which had arisen overnight, meant that everything became quiet after midday. On most afternoons, he could dress in a pair of Sarah's trousers or a simple skirt and jumper and step out onto the drive, getting into Sarah's Rover and driving off into the traffic. He enjoyed the feeling of freedom in the car and the fact that most fellow motorists would be blissfully unaware that the attractive woman in the car was not what she seemed. One day, wearing a mid-length green skirt and a roll-neck fawn jumper, he plucked up the courage to stop at a drive-in McDonald's. The young girl serving either had no idea that she was serving a man or didn't care. Having finished the meal in a nearby superstore car park, Gary decided he should try to get a few essentials for the house as there was almost nothing in. He had only ever stepped out en femme either to the car on the drive or occasionally he had plucked up the courage to pull on a long coat and walk deserted pavements in the evenings. He knew that real women rarely walked alone at night, but he didn't want to be spotted. He sat in the car and watched the busy shoppers going about their daily business. There was a large number of women, some with children, some alone, all looking stressed as they rushed into the store. Checking his makeup in the mirror and fussing over his hair, he finally decided to go for it, reminding himself to take short steps and to walk slowly. With heart racing, he slowly got out of the car and pulled on Sarah's biggest coat. Fortunately, it was bitterly cold. He took the handbag off the passenger seat and double-checked that he had enough cash. He didn't want to get stopped using Gary's credit cards while dressed as Sarah. Walking across the car park, he heard the click of his heels on the concrete and could feel his heart racing. What if he was found out? But most of the store was busy, and he quickly stocked up on a few essentials, adding a pack of tampons and lipstick to his basket. He stood in line at the checkout, where he noticed a neighbor at one of the other queues but managed to avoid any eye contact. The checkout was run by a pimply male who didn't even look up as the purchases were scanned, and Gary paid and walked out. He felt exhilarated and drove carefully away from the store, smiling at a young man in a sports car who let him out into the mainstream of traffic. Back home, Gary put the shopping away and changed into a house coat. He planned to have a bath later and really pamper himself. Then the phone rang. It was the neighbor from the superstore. She asked to speak with Sarah and, when Gary explained that she was away, exclaimed that she swore that she had seen Sarah earlier. Maybe, Gary mused, I am more convincing than I thought. The trips out became more frequent, and Gary spent more time walking around the shopping precincts nearby. He didn't trust his voice or demeanor enough to risk going into the attractive women's clothes shops, but he contented himself with window shopping and slipping into the larger chain stores where he could buy some clothes without the ordeal of a saleswoman continually interrupting him, and maybe guessing what he really was. He had walked past a particular shop a number of times and had gazed at a black evening dress in the window which had been marked down in price in a sale. As he looked again at the dress, a woman approached him from the shop. Lovely, isn't it? And such a bargain? She said, why don't you try it on? I'm sure it's your size. Gary felt himself stammer a falsetto. I'm not sure, but the saleswoman just smiled at him and held the shop door open. The shop was empty except for the woman and another assistant. She led Gary over to a rail of clothes and pulled out another black dress. Size 14, I think. Here, the fitting rooms are just over there. She led Gary to a door which opened to reveal a well-lit small room with a full-length mirror. Gary took the dress and closed the door. He quickly removed his coat, skirt, and roll-neck pullover and pulled the dress on. It fitted perfectly. He adjusted his wig and put his shoes back on. They were the wrong color, but the change in posture caused by the mid-heels served to accentuate the elegant drape of the dress. Let me see, said a voice from outside. When Gary opened the door, the saleswoman looked admiringly at the new dress and said, There, I told you it would look good. Warming to her open smiles and frank gaze, Gary mumbled that he would take it and return to the fitting room to put his street clothes back on. At the checkout, the woman had already wrapped the dress and placed it in a smart carrier bag with the shop's logo emblazoned on it. That will be £149, please. How would you like to pay? Without thinking, Gary handed over his Visa card. The woman swiped it through the machine, and they waited for it to print the signing slip. Gary signed rapidly. Thank you very much, madam, the saleswoman said while looking at the signature and comparing it with the credit card. She looked up into Gary's eyes. I'm sure you'll like the dress, and please feel free to come back at any time. I would be only too happy to pick out a few more things for you. Gary smiled back and walked out of this door. She obviously knew he was not a woman, yet she had no problems about helping him choose clothes. Gary was delighted to have found someone who could accept him for what he really was. Made bold by the success of buying the dress, Gary walked to the nearby theater and bought a ticket for that evening's performance of his favorite opera, Tosca.